Your face tells a story that words never could, and most people walk around completely blind to what it reveals about their inner state. The mirror shows more than just flesh and bone. It reflects the energy you carry, the choices you make, and the power you either claim or surrender. When you practice retention, something remarkable starts happening in the features you see every morning. The dullness fades away, replaced by a sharpness that makes people stop and wonder what changed about you. Your eyes gain a depth that wasn't there before, a magnetic quality that draws attention without you even trying. The complexion clears, the jawline becomes more defined, and there's an unmistakable radiance that no salve or potion could ever produce on its own. Most men never connect these physical transformations to what's happening beneath the surface, but your face becomes a map of your masculine energy. Every time you give in to instant gratification, you're literally draining the vitality that shows up in your appearance, and people notice this more than you think. Women pick up on these subtle signals without even realizing why they feel differently around you. Your facial structure, your presence, the way you hold eye contact, all of these shift when you start conserving your life force instead of throwing it away. The changes don't happen overnight, but they build steadily, creating a version of yourself that commands respect naturally. Society keeps men trapped in cycles that weaken them physically, mentally, and spiritually while pretending these habits bear no real consequences. The transformation goes far beyond what you'll witness in that first glance at the mirror each morning. Section 1. Inner Radiance. The ancients knew something that gets completely ignored today, that your face shows the true state of your soul. Every major tradition, whether Eastern mystics or Western monks, taught that clarity in the face means clarity in the spirit, while dullness reveals inner chaos. They watched people for generations and saw the same pattern over and over again. Virtue makes the features shine while conflict drains them of life. When you constantly release your seed, you're breaking yourself into pieces, scattering your energy across worthless moments that leave you empty. This shows up immediately in your eyes, which go dim and lifeless like a fire that's burning out. Your face carries the weight of an internal battle where your desires fight against your willpower every single day, and nobody ever wins. The old texts called this a house divide, where your soul can't pull itself together enough to create real presence. You end up looking tired, distracted, and weak, even if you can't pinpoint why. Retention pulls all those scattered pieces back together into one focused stream of power flowing through your whole body. The ancient Indians taught that when you stop wasting your essence, it rises up through your spine, lighting up your mind and refining your physical body along the way. Chinese medicine documented thousands of years ago how keeping your life force strengthens your kidneys, which control your bones, your brain, and even the structure of your face. This wasn't guesswork, but careful observation by cultures that cared more about wisdom and power than quick pleasure. When the constant drain stops, your body finally gets to use that creative energy for fixing and upgrading your system instead of replacing what you keep throwing away. Your nerves calm down, your hormones balance out, and your cells get the fuel they actually need to work properly. What people see on the outside is just the overflow of what's being rebuilt on the inside. Your thoughts get clearer because you're not drowning in shame, guilt, and the endless cycle of wanting and regretting that follows mindless release. This inner order shows up in your face as a kind of light that grabs attention without you doing anything special. Your eyes gain a sharp, piercing quality that warriors and wise men were famous for, a look that sees past the surface into what's really happening. Your skin starts glowing with a vitality that has nothing to do with being young, but everything to do with pure energy flowing through healthy tissue. Your jaw gets stronger, your back straightens, and your whole presence shifts from reacting to life to directing it. People pick up on this change instantly, even when they can't explain what's different, because humans still carry ancient instincts buried deep in our wiring. Women have always been drawn to men who show signs of self-control, strength, and spiritual power, because those traits meant survival and protection. Your face becomes proof not of vanity but of invisible work aligning your actions with something higher than animal urges. This glow that others notice isn't fake or painted on. It shines from inside as the natural result of a soul that's no longer fighting itself. Section 2. Moral Presence. Your face broadcasts your internal state to everyone around you, whether you know it or not. Scientists discovered that people read tiny facial movements in split seconds, deciding if you're trustworthy, strong, or weak before they even think about it consciously. When urges control you, your face gives you away through constant little movements that scream internal chaos. Your eyes jump around looking for the next hit of stimulation, Your jaw tightens and relaxes in patterns of stress, and your expression keeps shifting between different masks as impulses fight for control. The ancient philosophers hammered this point home, that a man who can't control his appetites can't control anything else in his life. The Stoics said that passion clouds your thinking, and this fog shows up physically in your face as instability that others read as weakness. Your nervous system, when hijacked by compulsion, keeps you stuck in reaction mode, where your primitive brain runs everything and your higher mind gets drowned out by constant craving. Retention breaks this pattern by cutting the wire between stimulus and automatic response. When you stop giving in immediately to every urge, your brain starts rewiring itself to choose intentional action over knee-jerk reaction. The front part of your brain that handles planning and morality gets stronger, while the fear center that drives impulses gradually loses its grip on you. This brain change shows up in your face through a quality that people throughout history called presence or authority. Your eyes stop darting around frantically and instead rest calmly on whatever you're focused on, communicating power and control. The muscles around your mouth relax into a natural position that looks content rather than hungry or dissatisfied. Even though how fast you blink changes, becoming slower and more controlled instead of rapid and nervous. Old books on reading faces taught that virtue literally reshapes your features over time, carving lines of strength rather than grooves of worry. Knights and monks both trained in controlling base desires, because this control produced the bearing necessary for leadership and spiritual growth. This shift in how your face looks triggers massive changes in how people treat you before you say a single word. Research shows that humans make instant judgments about your character based entirely on facial signals, and these snap judgments, though unconscious, guide how they behave toward you. When your face shows the marks of self-control, people automatically give you more respect, listen to your ideas more carefully, and come to you when they need guidance. Women especially pick up on these signals because evolution trained them to spot men capable of stability and protection instead of chaos and abandonment. The ancients called this walking in righteousness, or carrying divine favor, fancy terms for something completely visible and real. A man practicing retention develops a steadiness in his face that tells the world he answers to principles higher than momentary pleasure. His expression doesn't change with every mood or temptation, but stays anchored in his chosen values. This visible integrity becomes its own form of power, opening doors that stay locked for those who wear the face of slavery to desire. Your face announces your character long before your reputation does, and in a world full of weak men, the one who shows mastery stands out like fire in the dark. Section 3. Spiritual countenance. Sacred texts from nearly every culture talk about countenance as the spiritual fingerprint that shows what you're becoming. In Hebrew, the word for face and inner presence is the same word, because they understood that these can't be separated. One reveals the other. Ancient Hindu scripture describes how committed practice purifies your consciousness until your divine nature shines through your physical body, visible to anyone paying attention. These weren't theories but practical observations that spiritual teachers verified over centuries, watching inner transformation carve itself into the faces of serious practitioners. When you practice retention, you're not just holding back release, you're redirecting the most powerful creative force in your body toward higher goals that need fuel and focus. This redirection wakes up something sleeping in your system, with an intensity that changes how you exist in the world. Your face becomes the surface where this awakening shows itself through small but obvious shifts in expression, structure, and energy. The old alchemists understood this as turning lead into gold, and they applied the same idea to human growth, where animal nature transforms into conscious power. Retention sharpens your sense of purpose, because it forces you to answer the question of what you're saving all this energy for anyway. Without a real goal, the practice feels impossible, but with clear direction, it becomes rocket fuel for unstoppable progress toward your vision. The Spartans trained warriors in sexual discipline because they saw how it focused aggression, sharpened attention, and intensified the fighting spirit needed to survive brutal combat. Samurai teaching emphasized the same principle, knowing that scattered energy gets scattered results, while concentrated force breaks through any barrier. This inner fire that builds through retention shows first in your eyes, burning with an awareness that cuts through fakeness and sees situations clearly. The look of a retained man carries weight because it comes from a tank of unused potential, instead of the empty stare of someone running on fumes. Ancient Egyptians drew enlightened people with huge eyes symbolizing expanded awareness and sharper perception abilities that develop naturally when your essence stops flowing out and starts feeding your higher functions. Your facial structure itself responds to this energy shift as better circulation, nutrients, and charge feed tissues that might have been starving for years under the old pattern. The masculine power that wakes up through this practice leaves a mark that separates men from boys, regardless of age. Throughout history, certain men carried authority that had nothing to do with money or position, but everything to do with raw presence radiating from their being. Tribal elders, mystery school graduates, and warrior leaders all shared this quality that commanded respect through pure force of developed spirit. Your face testifies to this development, showing discipline where others show desperation, displaying strength where they display weakness. The Romans had a concept that meant both moral virtue and vital force, the power that makes a man dangerous in every area, and they believed this force showed itself clearly in bearing and face. When you stop throwing away your seed for cheap thrills, you take back control over the very source of life itself. This takeover doesn't happen invisibly. The universe writes it directly onto your features through systems that mix biology, mysticism, and laws we barely understand. Every spiritual tradition that built anything lasting demanded this sacrifice from men, because they knew what modern life forgoes, that a man who can't master this can't master anything. Your change stops being secret and becomes a public statement, written in the language of presence carved into your face and transmitted through every interaction you have with reality.